Welcome back to Twin Flame Psychic 1111. I'm Karen. We're back again today for another channeled message from Spirit about your twin flame union. What do you really need to know right now? So, you provide something incredibly special, incredibly important, very, very important to your person. You provide them with a lot of respect. They are absolutely euphoric. You've filled them with absolute bliss, happiness, and the deepest fulfillment because you truly respect them as a person. You respect them for who they really are. They may have felt very misunderstood in this world. They may have felt like people thought that they were strange or just didn't take them seriously. Maybe they didn't even mind if people thought they were strange or if people thought they were eccentric because they have a lot of spiritual beliefs. But nonetheless, they felt lonely. They felt misunderstood. They felt like there was this communication barrier between them and most other people in this world because what they want to talk about, the place they want to come from, which is the depths of their heart and their soul, the depths that they want to express themselves from, they feel like it's mostly led to a communication gap. They feel like it's like speaking for a foreign language and people not understanding them. So they felt muted, they felt like they had to mute themselves or they felt repressed, okay? They felt like they couldn't express themselves to the depth at which they wanted to, the depths at which felt natural to them, the depths at which they're capable of speaking. Your person, they highly value expressing their inner depths, more and more so, like they highly value discovering more of the infinite. Their expression of their inner depths is them expressing everything they experience from the infinite, their own infinite being, your infinite bond, the infinite universe. This is their main, it's not just a fascination. They're fascinated, yes, very much so, but it's who they are. It's their truth. It feels like the most natural, most profound thing. They're filled with enthusiasm. And like I said, they felt like muted in this world, or there was a communication gap and they couldn't express themselves. They didn't know where to start. They didn't know what to say. They felt very repressed. And they love you completely because you love them completely for who they really are. You provide them space. You hold space for them. You are fascinated. You want to know more. You want their outpouring of their heart and soul. You want their expression, even if you don't fully understand everything that they're always talking about or always saying. You can feel the energies. You want to know more. You just want to be there. You want to hold space. You want to allow them to be their true self. And this person, they love you so much for your complete kindness in providing this for them. It's so incredibly healing. You make them feel so incredibly seen. And like you want to understand. It's your effort to want to understand that means the absolute world to them. That you care enough to look deeper, to listen intently, to want to know more, to be there for them. So they can be their true self or feel like they can be. So much more through immense expression, through this safe space that you provide, through you being a really, really good listener. You allow them to expand. You allow them to break free from their repression and be so liberated. You make them feel like they're not too much because they felt like they were too much and they had to hold themselves back because people didn't understand, or people were triggered, or people looked at them funny, or people just, again, there was just that communication gap, and it's like their energy had nowhere to go. it was going nowhere. Or that's how they felt anyway. But with you, their energy flows. They can express. They can be free. They felt imprisoned by all of this for pretty much their whole life. So it means the absolute world to them, beyond words, that you deeply respect them. You don't look at them funny. You value what they're saying. Again, even if you don't fully understand at times exactly what they're saying or what they're trying to express, it's not about you always understanding. It's about you always being there and wanting to know more. Giving them the freedom through your love to be able to express what they feel they need to express. There's so much energy flowing through them from the higher dimensions, from the universe, and they are here to express themselves. They are here to ground this energy, and you are fundamental in this process. You work together amazingly as a team because you allow all of this energy to ground, because you are that stability that holds them. You are like the Ace of Cups, the cup that is open and receptive to receive them fully and their expression fully. And this allows them to get it all out, to express it all. And this is them grounding. You could work together as a team. Like just like me, you could be some sort of speaker. For some of you, you know, this is resonating as the other way around, and you are the one that's expressing yourself, and your divine masculine is holding like the space. This is what I'm primarily talking about, in all honesty. But the divine masculine is paramount, like in this bond. You are like the yin and the yang. You work together as a team to ground this energy. You could be a communicator of spiritual messages and spiritual energy, and they are fundamental in helping you massively, enabling you to communicate all of this to help a broader community. They're like the King of Cups. They are this complete love, this complete tenderness. They're very open and receptive. They make you feel like they allow you into their heart. They encourage you to express your heart. They want to receive your love through your expression. They want to receive you fully to help you fully feel liberated. They provide you with a lot of peace and security and protection, okay, because they take you seriously. They've never once looked at you like you're strange. They've never like raised an eyebrow. They've completely taken you seriously. And this means the absolute world to you. And there's a powerful message here as well, like they've allowed you. There's this sense that you felt so repressed, that you felt sad in this world, and you felt frustrated in this world, because you've always felt from a young age, pretty much your whole life, you always felt like there was so much for you to express, and you felt because you were muted and you didn't know how to express yourself or be authentic, because it was like going nowhere. It was falling on deaf ears. You felt like you were oppressed so much. You felt like, therefore, very overlooked in this world. Like people could have thought that there isn't really that much to you, or you can't do much, or you don't know much, or because you just felt stuck, like you didn't know how. There was these blocks within you as well. Most likely some sort of trauma from your younger years as well. Like you just didn't know where to start or how to express yourself. So you felt very overlooked, and it's not anyone else's fault or anything, but you may have felt like people sort of assumed that you couldn't really do much. So the divine masculine completely providing this respect and this space for you to be your true self. It's filled you with a lot of excitement. It's filled you with a lot of fulfillment because it's enabled you to be able to prove yourself. I'm looking at some cards. I've pulled out some cards here. One of the messages cards is, I'm going to prove myself to you. Because they have felt very overlooked, and they may have even felt as though a lot of people sort of looked down upon them because they were muted and therefore very repressed, and therefore didn't really say or express much or prove much of themselves. So they felt very diminished. So you provide this continuous space and continual opportunities for them to keep proving themselves to themselves, to others. This is like healing some immense wound, okay? Some might say it's an ego wound, and yeah, it partly is. The ego wound of worrying what people think. But they felt very wounded, thinking that people were overlooking them or thinking like sort of negatively or diminishing them through stereotyping them perhaps. So they feel like they can prove themselves, but it's not just an ego thing. It's they feel like they're here on a mission, like they feel like they're here to do miraculous things, is the word, miraculous I'm hearing. That they feel like they're here to do profound things, to profoundly speak from their heart and help others in whatever ways that they can with immense depth. And so it's not just about proving themselves for ego reasons. They feel that there's a purpose, and they felt it was also repressed. And you were destined to meet the divine masculine, was destined to be like the firm foundation, to help, to be the one to receive like the downloads, the information, the love, and therefore allow the divine feminine to express the infinite universe, express the divine feminine, bring the divine feminine energy into this world as well. It's to do with that as well. I feel this is all having a very positive knock-on effect as well, because the divine masculine believes in you completely, respects you completely. It's made the divine feminine believe in herself. The divine feminine is expressing herself so much more, is speaking with confidence, is speaking with conviction, and it's very magnetic. I feel this is all having a positive knock-on effect on allowing others to hear the divine feminine and take the divine feminine seriously. This is never about, everybody suddenly believing in all of these divine messages that the divine feminine has, because everybody awakens at different stages, but this is all fundamental in allowing like certain souls, certain people that are in alignment with the frequency that the divine feminine is expressing and exuding. It's allowing those that really resonate to gravitate towards the divine feminine's messages, information and energies to help stir up, or activate the DNA, to help activate the truth that's been hidden, suppressed, buried in this false matrix. This has all also had a very profound knock-on effect when it comes to healing the divine feminine. Divine feminine, you may have felt very weighed down by feeling alienated in this world, or not taken seriously, or just overlooked, or just not knowing where to begin, not knowing how to fully express yourself, not knowing how to feel fully in alignment with your soul purpose and who you really are, because it's one and the same, who you really are, and the expression of that is your soul purpose. This reunion and all of the respect and stability and support that the divine masculine provides you with, it allows you to become more empowered, more thick-skinned, more self-believing, to the point where, even if theoretically the divine masculine had some negative thoughts about you, and I'm just speaking theoretically, even then you're now like in so much more self-esteem, self-confidence that the masculine has massively helped you with, that, you wouldn't even mind that, theoretically speaking, if the divine masculine had some sort of negative opinion of your thoughts. But this is all a work in progress, okay? Divine feminine, you are becoming much more empowered in your expression, but you still may be struggling somewhat, like there may be this internal battle, and this is natural. You're coming out of comfort zones over and over and over again. You are coming out of comfort zones and expanding more and more every step of the way. But you could be coming up against like this internal battle, this part of yourself, like the negative self-talk, where there's this internal conflict between you wondering, am I being empowered and confident, or is it my ego speaking? It could be both. We all have light and shadow. You could be going through a phase of somewhat allowing your ego to misbehave, in quotation marks. You're allowing part of your wounding as a feminine. In the collective, the feminine has this wound, but maybe even on a personal experience, you could have this wound where you're very fearful of becoming or coming across as egotistical, coming from the ego. There could be all of this pressure to be rid of the ego, but that's like toxicity in the spiritual movement. It is ego in itself that's like, oh, I mustn't have ego. But as a feminine, you could be under a lot of pressure to always be humble, to always be the good feminine, the good girl, the good lady. And I'm not saying you're bad, but this has caused you to repress a lot of your shadow. We all have ego. It's caused you to repress the ego and try and make out like you don't have an ego, or try and diminish it or hide it as best as possible. Divine feminine, you're coming into a lot of liberation. So you may be currently or recently and currently been going through a time of, in quotation marks, allowing your ego to misbehave a little bit. And by that, I simply mean you're allowing your ego to show somewhat more. You're giving up this pressure to be a perfectionist or come across as perfect. I do not mean it as you're allowing your ego to misbehave and you're like not caring if you hurt others or anything. I don't mean it in that way, but you may be like, again, I feel it goes back to the wound of you proving yourself. Like there's a part of you that's wounded and feels like hurt deep down. It's like your inner child is hurt. You felt overlooked. You feel like people diminished you or underestimated you. So that part of your wounded inner child could be like coming out, and you're trying to prove yourself, and you could class that somewhat as the ego coming out, but you're moving beyond the exhaustion of trying to repress yourself completely. You're embracing your shadow side as well as your light. So you're allowing it to, again in quotation, misbehave by allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to feel good about yourself or prove yourself in certain ways. And if it is ego or any elements of that isn't serving you, you're allowing yourself to express yourself without suppressing that, so that the liberation can just dissolve the wounds, okay? I feel like the expression and trying to prove yourself, it's healing your wounds, it's dissolving your wounds, and then you may naturally fall back into an equilibrium. You may naturally fall back into a place of your true nature where maybe the ego is healed and the ego has diminished somewhat. I'm not trying to make out like you have this huge ego. That may be part of that inner battle where you're worrying like, oh, do I have a massive ego? Are people thinking I have a huge ego? And you may not you may genuinely just not know how you're coming across. But again, you're coming out of your comfort zone. Things will even out. Things are coming into an equilibrium where if ego is like kicking off a little bit at times, that's just it expressing itself so it can be purged. And then you'll naturally come back to that balanced state of light and shadow. It may be that you are, you are also genuinely coming into a lot more self-confidence and self-esteem, and it is your self-esteem. It's like, because you've repressed your ego so much, or attempted to, and that was the ego, repressing the ego. Now as you're allowing like this true spontaneous expression again, without meaning to or wanting to hurt anyone in the process, but as you're having this freedom, allowing everything to come up, to be expressed, to be experienced, to be lived, you may just be learning to understand the parameters of that, learning to decipher or discern what is ego, what is the real me, where is the line between healthy self-esteem or just arrogance. You know, you're learning these parameters because it was all just so repressed that now you're feeling your way through all of this. And the initial message of being so respected, so held by the divine masculine, it even circles back round to this. Like, you may be retreating, okay? This may be a reason why, because there's been a lot of messages recently of the divine feminine somewhat retreating and going inwards and going into hermit mode, and maybe you're not communicating so much with the divine masculine. Maybe the divine masculine fears that you're moving on from them. But really, Spirit's just clearly showing me right now, a lot of this, you going inwards and sort of holding back, is because you fear rejection. Because you are allowing, you're embracing your shadow, and you're allowing your shadow to be expressed more. And you're fearing that the divine masculine is thinking negatively of you. You are fearing that the divine masculine is thinking you have an ego the size of this planet. You're retreating into yourself. It's like, again, it's like that internal struggle that is normal as you're coming out of the comfort zone. It will come into equilibrium. You'll heal this, you'll purge, you'll come into balance. You will see clearly, you will come into alignment. You will know that you're in alignment with your true self as you purge or allow more of the shadow to come up, and you allow more of the ego to come up. But you may feel as a divine feminine, you need to always be soft. You always need to be, the stereotyped version of what the feminine is. So you may be feeling shame. You may be feeling bad that you're becoming more empowered. Maybe it feels like you're becoming more masculine. I'm not saying that you are, but there's been a lot of distortions. There's distortions in certain ways when it comes to being feminine as a feminine, and there's distortions for the divine masculine and what it means to be masculine. So there's all of this shadow, all of this repression is coming up within you, very powerfully divine feminine, and you're releasing it. You could be feeling bad, you could be feeling shameful, but there's the empowered self that's breaking through and shining through and continuing on with this regardless, because there's a breakthrough. This is how you're changing. This is how you're transforming. You're becoming empowered, and slowly but surely learning that that doesn't mean you're a bad person, or that you're becoming more masculine, or you're becoming negative. I don't know what words to use to describe it. So yeah, the divine is clearly showing me in this moment through this channeled message that you may have been feeling as a divine feminine that you're going inwards a lot. And partly it is because your fears have been stirred up. Am I coming across as so arrogant and egotistical? Am I becoming extremely unattractive? Am I turning off the divine masculine? Is it the divine masculine falling out of love with me, being turned off by me? Is the divine masculine going to reject me or abandon me as I become more of my true self, more empowered self? So that creates a lot of fears in the mind, and then we start being more in the mind and coming out of the oneness of the heart space with the divine masculine. So Spirit's just made it clear through this message that a lot of it is to do with that. And I've talked a lot about the transformation that the divine feminine is going through and moving into a higher timeline. It's moving into more self-acceptance, coming into alignment. There is immense movement into alignment with the true self, which is naturally more empowered and not repressed. And because it's all new, because you're coming out of a comfort zone, you're just trying to feel your way through it. And it can be exhausting having the fears, which will naturally come up, the negative inner talk, the self-doubt. But nonetheless, the empowered soul is more powerful than any fears, than any false narratives. And that is the drive behind it all. It's healing. It's you becoming more of the divine feminine, your true nature. That's the driving force, the most powerful force, the more dominant force of freedom. You coming into freedom. And you respect the divine masculine so much to be able to hold you, support you, completely love you, completely respect you as you're coming out from behind your masks. You may be coming out of people-pleasing tendencies. You're still extremely nurturing by nature as the divine feminine. You're not losing any of that. But you're becoming more balanced. So I really, really hope that this message has deeply resonated with at least someone, and I really feel that it will. I do feel this is a collective thing, but it's a very, very personal thing for your own individual journey that you deserve to claim and be proud of as well. So if this reading has resonated with you, please let me know in the comments, give it a thumbs up, share it, subscribe. That all really helps me out with the algorithm. If you didn't realize, I also have another channel, which is called Soul Whispers Tarot. I will leave a link to the other channel below this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. Thank you so much for joining me here. Take care. Bye.